welcome to the Femafricmaths page. Today, before we introduce our guests, we are going to make our guests play a complex number game. And there are two rules to the game. So these are triangular tiles with complex numbers or equations on the edges. And one rule is that if a complex number on one edge is equal to another complex number on the other edge, then you can join the edges together. Or if there's an equation on one edge and a complex number is the solution to the equation, then you can join the edges together. There are 24 of these tiles, and the aim is that the guest is supposed to put these together to form one big hexagon. And she has 5 minutes to do it, and the timer starts now.
Blank edges would have to go on the outside.
Yay, congratulations on putting the puzzle together. We'd like you to tell us a little about yourself, your name, where you're coming from, and your journey through maths.
So my name is Gwendolyn Campbell. I come from South Africa originally, and I came over to the UK to do my postgraduate studies. In South Africa, I did an undergraduate in physics and became very interested in pure mathematics. So after my undergraduate, I went into theoretical physics for my master's in Cambridge, and then I did a PhD in mathematical physics. So after that, I decided I no longer want to focus on abstract things for the rest of my life. I want to see maths working in the real world. So I got a job in a maths think tank, and after that, where I currently am, I'm the lead data scientist for a recruitment company. So that's my journey.
Okay, thank you. You said you have a PhD in mathematical physics, right? So how useful has that been in your current job, being a data scientist? What skills or tools did you learn in your PhD that you're applying here?
So I'm expected in my job to do a variety of things and to use project management skills, organization and planning skills. I'm also required to use statistics some days geometry, some days algebra.
Okay.
So basically I'm relying on my knowledge of the sort of language of mathematics to solve problems. So although I'm not always using the highest, most complex equations, I need to translate real world problems into equations to solve them. And this requires me to be creative and think of different mathematical tools that I could use. I also have to do a lot of programming, so that's a very sort of systematic way of breaking down a problem for a computer to understand in order to solve the problem. So I found quite a challenge translating sort of theoretical maths into algorithmic maths sometimes, but it's quite a satisfying challenge when you see the outcome and you can solve a real world problem. So yeah, I also think that during my studies I learned how to ask questions, to dig deep into problems and to look at them from different perspectives, but also try to understand them in a very granular way, so very I can analyze them in a way that I can find something new in it that's not apparent to the eye at first sight. So I think this is very valuable. Sometimes my boss calls me into a call that's not really related to my job, but he just wants me to ask questions in the way that I do to unlock some more understanding of the problem. So that's quite satisfying.
So it's more of your skills and the way you look at a problem and you think about it. And
I mean, recently I tried to translate a problem into a sort of mathematical equation, and it made complete sense to me. I had A plus B equals C, and I had like subscripts for certain things, and my colleagues looked at it and they're like, what are you talking about? And to me it's like, that's the simplest way to describe the problem, that I need to learn how to translate that simple thing into an understandable language, but yet the simple equation helps me solve the problem quicker on the computer. So that's a challenge that is difficult at times, but actually that's how I can make a difference in the real world with my maths.
so did you envision yourself doing this, or there was a way of you finding a job easily after your PhD because probably you didn't want to go to academia, or you had this in mind before starting your PhD that you wanted to do something more applied?
I think, before I even studied, I thought I want to make a difference with what I do in the real world. So I thought that I would always use my skills to help more practical people and make solutions to real world problems way back. And then when I studied maths and physics, I got so interested in the structures and the beauty of the theoretical side of maths that I thought, well, maybe I'll be an academic because I really enjoy really those mind exercises of manipulating symbols and equations according to certain rules to form new theorems and discover new things about systems that obey certain laws, and I thought that's really exciting. But I've had a great interest in sort of the arts and in politics and human nature, and I guess all of that kept pulling me towards the real world, as it were, and how does what I do fit into that. So I guess after my studies I thought, well, it will probably be quite satisfying for me to be in a situation where people around me have come from very different backgrounds and don't think the same as me, but we all can come together to create a solution that actually helps a lot of people or solves a problem that is pressing on people's lives. So, because I was taught that during maths is about problem solving, so I was like, well, I must be solving some sort of problems for some purpose. So that's that, yeah.
Okay, so what is the World Economic Forum among the range of established rules that are going to experience increase in demand by 2022? We have data analysts and scientists among it. among the top 10.
Mhm.
So maybe there's someone watching us who wants to be a data scientist like you. What would your advice be to the person? What choices should the person make, whether in undergrad or postgraduate level? What kind of skills should a person develop in order to find a job in this field?
So I should explain a bit about data science. How it's come about is a lot of people, a lot of companies, organizations have collected a lot of data over the years, but there's no meaning in that data. Nobody understands, what does all of that mean? We can collect a lot of information, but we need somehow to analyze it, bring it together, get some insights for it so that we can make a better choice in the future. So that's why the role of data science is now such a big thing in the world, because we're at the point where there's a lot of information in the world, but there's not a lot of insight into that information. Data science is kind of a combination of skills. There's computer science, maths, and then domain expertise. So me coming from the math side, I've had to kind of broaden my scope to learn a bit more about computer science and a bit more about, domain expertise. So that's specific to whatever problem you're working in, but it's also how do you work with the people who have the knowledge of that domain that you're solving the problem for. So I would say just develop yourself as much as possible. Don't put restrictions on yourself. I was drawn to the intellectual challenge of maths. Don't shy away from it if you like it. But follow your heart and don't get stuck in a rut that somebody else has put you in. So I thought I'd be an academic, and I just realized that that wasn't me and that I needed to go into a different environment, that I can take my skills with me there, and I feel very optimistic. So I can't really talk if you have an interest in computers, but I think that's a very interesting field. I spend a lot of my time now reading about cryptography and the development of the internet and the development of computers kind of as challenges in the world arose, and I think that's very exciting. So I might have studied computer science, but I can understand now from the skills that I gained in mathematics, what they're talking about in computer science. So at the end of the day, you can cross different fields, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah. So one of the main goals of this campaign is to put mentors like you out there so that young ones will see you and be inspired by what you're doing, for them to aspire to do greater things. So my question, so I would like you to give a message to a young person or any of our audience out there who wants to do maths or probably wants to do something similar to what you're doing. What will your encouraging or inspiring message to them be?
I think what I've realized is every now and again I've faced big challenges, and I found my studies have been very challenging, and I've been faced with a choice. Do I quit or do I continue? Do I blame my culture, my past, my circumstances for why I'm finding what I'm doing difficult, or do I find a way to overcome the challenge and continue? And I just want to encourage people to, if you have a dream, when the hard times come, just remember that it's not worth blaming the things around us, but rather to find a way to overcome, and the reward is very satisfying. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation.